Well, it is October 1st, and being fall, everything is coming to an end in my garden. And so, but I'm going to have, hopefully, a good fall harvest of tomatoes and melons. So, I've got a lot of stuff still out here, and I'll go through it real quick with you, and then I'm going to show you what else I'm doing. Alright, see, I have a lot of tomatoes growing, and these are a Romano type of tomato, and these are bountiful on this plant. I have probably close to 50 tomatoes growing on this plant. And over at the end here are melons, and but coming to the end, as far as okra goes, I have all kinds of okra growing still, but I'm not harvesting anymore. It's up to people who come out here to pick it. I'm through picking okra. Here's a bed of tomatoes. Hopefully I'll get a harvest before it freezes. This is another bed that I threw seed in, and it's growing pretty good. And here's a bed that's planted in seed, and there's lots of tomato plants growing in this. And another bed of tomatoes, and some tomatoes even growing on the vines at this stage. I got a big fat one growing here, and we'll see how it happens. And then I've got melons, and I've got lots of beds of melons, and these are cantaloupes that are growing. And see, there's a couple of cantaloupes. So well, I have 4 cantaloupes in total growing in this bed. I've got about 25 in total honeydew melons in this bed. Lots of peppers in this bed over here. And it's just the weeds are just overtaking everything. So when the frost sets in, I'm going to lay plastic down. My yellow squashes are through. The plants are dying, and I planted a bed of moringa trees. So I'm going to be harvesting a lot of this here pretty soon, so I can take the moringa, powderize it, dry it out and powderize it. This is a bed of tomatoes, all from seed. And this is a bed that I took and just had some tomatoes growing out in my field, and I just put them in this bed, and they took off. There's lots of tomatoes growing, and this is a variety that comes from Russia. They're called black Krim. They're a very ugly tomato, and they crack. Every tomato cracks. Just can't avoid them. So no grower will grow a black Krim for sale, but I grow them, so we'll see. And and this is the last of my butternuts in this bed, and out there is an experimental bed that I just threw together real fast, and I planted seeds. I planted a massive amount of seeds, But those are all tomato plants out there. I probably planted, oh, I don't know, about 19,000 seeds. And I got, of course, a lot of tomato plants up and growing. And of course, a lot that never made it. But we'll see what happens. I'm kind of excited about this bed. This should be a good producer as long as it doesn't freeze too early. Alright, I'm in my first greenhouse, and I have completely reorganized the entire greenhouse. And off here to the right of the greenhouse, I have a nursery for tomato plants. This is where I start them off with by planting seeds in these small containers, and then as they get bigger, I put them into bigger containers. And so I've just got bunches and bunches of tomato plants, and eventually all of these are going to go into grow bags. And the grow bags, you can even see there's a tomato growing on this. I put my trees at the very end here. And so as I put them into grow bags in the nursery, I set them down in the middle here. And some of these things take off really good, very strong, and they end up growing tomatoes. As you can see, this is a big one, and this plant has 3 of them, and another plant has 1. So at any rate, I put my moringa trees off to the left. I've had a lot of people come by lately and buy them, and so I'm kind of getting thin in moringa trees, but next spring I'm going to plant 1,500 of them out in my field, and we'll see how they do. So this is the nursery that I've got set up just for tomato plants, and eventually all these little pots will be bagged into bigger bags. I will have a whole mess of tomato plants sitting in the middle and growing tomatoes in here, and I'll show you the second greenhouse. Now I completely reorganized this as well, and so these were started in the other greenhouse. I bagged them up and I put them out here. So this is these are all new plants right here. These are my older plants, and as they peter out, I'm going to remove them, and the bigger ones, and the small ones are going to take over and produce lots of tomatoes. I have a tomato variety, well, a lot of heirlooms I'm growing, but one that fascinates me is called the Big Zack. I'm going to get real close to this. This right here is a flower, and now it's forming a tomato. And these tomatoes grow on average 4 to 6 pounds a piece. This is the variety that does it. So that's Big Zack. This is a Big Zack. This is a Big Zack. Then I have a lot of other varieties growing: Black Crims, Mule Team. I have Snow White. I have a whole bunch of different varieties. Delicious. So that's what I got going on here. These are older plants. They're still producing pretty well. This thing is a super producer. It produces cherry tomatoes, and just hundreds of them. I can't believe how many. So at any rate, we got a lot of tomatoes off these older bushes, and there's still more to be harvested. And then I will be removing them as they become less productive and replacing them with the other ones that I'm bringing in from the other greenhouse. And the other ones that I have in the other greenhouse produce much bigger tomatoes. These are cherry tomato varieties, and they just don't produce enough tomatoes. So out they go. In comes the new ones. At any rate, we'll see what happens. And I hope I get a huge harvest before the frost sets in. But even if it doesn't, I will put heaters in here. I'll keep the temperature warm and grow them throughout the winter, and we'll see how long they last. So this is Mike from M&T Farm, and I will talk to you soon.